So this game was awesome. Like, legitimately awesome. The Sunday night Labor Day weekend game rarely disappoints, and this was no exception, as this battle between two top 10 teams was incredible and featured an early contender for the best catch of the season. And in a week where there weren't a lot of great games, this one lived up to the hype and then some, as the Catholics versus convicts rivalry usually does. And with 36 seconds left in the game, Notre Dame, led by this man right here in Marcus Freeman, down by 3 points, had a chance to drive down the field with no timeouts and tie the game, or even win it. What a story this would be if the redshirt freshman quarterback, who hadn't thrown a collegiate pass before this game, could go on the road in front of a sold-out crowd on a wet night down in South Beach and do it. So how many plays with 36 seconds left do you think Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame got off? That's a fair amount of time to march down the field, right? How many plays did they run? 7 plays? 6? 5? Nope. One singular play. One freaking play.
Park under pressure, throws it as he was being sacked.
All right, after the intentional grounding penalty, take 10 seconds off the clock and put it at 26. At least the clock is stopped for the moment, but it's going to go on the whistle. So you have to be ready to call a play, and nope, just going to let it tick? You do realize the clock is running here, right? Why did you wait 6 seconds to call a play that you should have been ready for? What's with the lack of urgency?
2nd and 17. He's going down again.
Well, that was pretty bad, but you still got time for one more play. Just spike the ball, get set, and then call the play. Just settle down, clock it, bring up 4th down for one more chance, and you still have a chance.
Over on the last couple of plays, and time expires.
One play in 36 seconds. One play in 36 seconds. Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something to look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something to look awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this can possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of a college head coach. And for this one, we're taking a look at the mind of Notre Dame head coach Marcus Freeman. I like Freeman a lot. I thought the way he handled the loss to Northern Illinois was amazing, and it turned the season around. And it's something that I'm willing to bet 99% of coaches do not do. He's a super likable and easy to root for guy, which is a complete 180 from their predecessor. However, I'm noticing an unfortunate theme with him when it comes to managing big games in close spots, where it seems as if his brain just completely shuts off. The end-of-game management against NIU, when it came to the clock, was atrocious. Last year in the national championship against Ohio State, his decision to kick a field goal late in the 4th quarter, even though it made no difference from a possession standpoint, and you had to score a touchdown in that spot to have any chance at winning, made no sense. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. And then, we have this absolute catastrophe of a situation against Miami. I don't care who you have at quarterback or how experienced of a head coach you are. If you only run one play in the final 36 seconds of the game, and you're losing by 3 points, you're going to be scrutinized, and rightfully so. So with that being said, let's take a look at why running 6 seconds off the clock after an intentional grounding penalty and then not spiking the ball afterwards is a really bad idea. Before I do that though, I stream basically every single college football game on my main channel, Jaguar Gator 9. And of course, I was live for this one. And I want to show you guys my reaction in real time to what was happening. Just so you can see how not only I process a situation like this, but just so you can see, without any shadow of a doubt, that this isn't hindsight bias, and that this was legitimately really stupid on the part of Marcus Freeman and company. The second grounding penalty today. Move it back to the 30-yard line. Clock's going to run as well. 2nd down, taking their time. Carr stepping up, trying to. He gets sacked. They won't have time for anything else. They got to spike the ball and then hope for the best on 3rd. They got to spike it and hope for the best on 3rd down. Undertaker club, yes. Got to spike it here. 5, 4. They're not going to get this off. They took way too much time. Why are they not spiking it? They didn't get it off. The game is over. They didn't get it off. Why would you not spike it? They tried to run a play, but that was going to be the last play of the game either way. Why would you not try and spike the ball on third? Why would you try running a play in that spot? That was going to be the final play regardless. The downs are irrelevant. You just want the clock stopped and reset with a redshirt freshman. Spike the ball, gets in line, spike it, and then call your final play with 3. I don't know what that game plan was, but Miami gets the win as they run out of time to call a play. Now we see a lot of people dissecting the final play and the snap and whatnot, and how they couldn't get the snap off. And don't worry, we're going to get to that in a second. But what no one's talking about is the intentional grounding penalty. The bad news with an intentional grounding penalty is that you lose a down, you lose yardage, and you lose 10 seconds. So the clock goes from 36 to 26 seconds. However, if there is a benefit to intentional grounding, it's that it gives you a free timeout. The referees need to talk it over, they need to think about the spot, they need to announce the call, and then they need to reset everything. What that means is that there should be no confusion or hesitation whatsoever with what play to call next. The clock runs immediately on the whistle, so during that mini break and timeout for deliberation, you need to be telling your offense exactly what to run and have them set so they can snap it right on the whistle. The clock starts running at 26 seconds, and you need to snap that ball at 25 seconds. Even 24 seconds is pushing it. The fact that the ball wasn't snapped until there were 20 seconds left? You took 6 whole seconds off the clock to call a play that you could have called immediately? That is asinine to me, and I don't know how you can look so unprepared in that spot. 6 seconds is a lot of time in a situation like that. That's time to run an entire play. We've seen situations where a team tries to get into field goal range with 5 seconds left, so they call a quick pass and get down with 1. Out routes to the sidelines don't take 6 seconds. Slant routes don't take 6 seconds. At this point of the game, you need to get into field goal range. And with limited available time at your disposal, you need to do everything in your power to maximize the number of plays that you can get. You want as many chances as possible. Almost like if you're on a game show and you need to get 5 questions right out of 7 versus 5 questions right out of 8 to move on to the next round. You want that latter option. If you snap the ball with 26 seconds, assuming a play takes 5 seconds, you might have 5 plays at your disposal before you have to kick the field goal or throw a Hail Mary. If you snap it with 20, you genuinely might only have 3 plays. You want that yards per play needed to be a low number, and the difference between what that number is with 5 plays versus 3 is huge. If we assume in this spot that the target yard line is the 37 of Miami, so a 55-yard field goal, and you're currently at your own 30-yard line, if you call the play right away like you should have, because again, there was no reason not to, since you had time to talk it over and had a chance to be set before the whistle was blown, you need 33 yards or 6.6 yards per play to get there. Obviously, you can't really use the middle of the field unless you get a first down, so your options are a bit limited, but 6.6 yards per play is doable, and that's what you could have had with proper clock management. Conversely, by calling the play with 20 seconds left for no reason and letting 6 seconds run off the clock, you need 11 yards per play. You need roughly double the yards per play to go the same distance, all because of your inept clock management and preparation. Especially with a quarterback who hadn't thrown a collegiate pass before this game, the difference between 6.6 yards per play and 11 yards per play is huge. It's huge for anyone, but especially for a guy in that spot. And the fact that you didn't maximize that, despite having time available at your disposal to do so after the intentional grounding, is crazy to me on so many levels. And then we get to the final play where Notre Dame couldn't even get it off because they got called for a false start. But the ball was snapped after 0 anyways. So whatever you want to call it, they couldn't get it off after the sack. Obviously, the one thing in that spot that can't happen is you take a sack. Your receivers are down the field and now have to come all the way back. Your quarterback has to get set up and everyone's out of sorts. But with the clock running, as a head coach, you have to recognize that at this point, the down does not matter. You only have time for one legitimate play. By the time everyone gets back to the line, there's going to be 4 seconds left. If you have time for one play, it doesn't matter if it's first down, second down, third down, or fourth down. You need to get to the end zone, and you're not playing a 10-yard game, but rather a get-to-the-goal line game. So which seems like a better option if you only have time for one legitimate play? Getting to the line quickly, spiking the ball, having time to reset and huddle up and talk about the play, making sure everyone's on the same page, especially with a redshirt freshman in his first game ever at quarterback, and doing it on fourth down, or trying to get set with everyone out of sorts and calling a play on third down as everyone's going 20 miles an hour. I don't get how you don't decide in that spot to spike it. I don't get how Freeman wasn't telling his guys to just get back and spike the ball. The down and distance is irrelevant. There is no difference between 3rd and 23 and 4th and 23 if you only have time for one legitimate play anyways. And how you don't recognize that as a head coach at this level is beyond me. It's like if you're at an amusement park and the park closes in 30 minutes and there are 2 rides at opposite ends of the park, with one ride having a 21-minute wait and the other ride having a 26-minute wait. You're only going to have a chance to ride one of them. And even though one might have a longer wait than the other, it makes no difference in the grand scheme of things. The same logic applies with that situation at the end of this game. And Marcus Freeman, this man right here, bungled it. Plain and simple, he bungled it. We don't know why, because we never got that question in the post-game presser. Though I'm not going to blame the reporters for that, because they're on limited time and can only ask a certain number of questions, and all the questions that they asked were really good ones. Notably about the play of the offensive line, and CJ Carr in his first ever game, and some injury-related questions. So I'm laying them off the hook here, because there weren't any dumb or completely asinine questions that no one cares about, a la the Stanford-Hawaii ending. But the theme with Freeman and his poor in-game management at the end of close games is becoming more and more noticeable by the day, and he's got to improve that quickly. Otherwise, with Notre Dame's schedule, on paper, they're not making the playoff with 2 losses. They have to run the table, and Freeman has to improve his game tremendously to do that. So what do we learn from all of this? Don't let time run off the clock for no reason. If you have 2 options, and one of them lets you get the playoff with 26 seconds, and the other one lets you get the playoff with 20 seconds, and you need to maximize the number of plays possible to get down the field, then take the bigger number. If you have 2 options, and one of them gives you a smaller number of yards per play needed than the other one, to the point where it's nearly double, then take the smaller number. Make it easier on yourself. If the down and distance is irrelevant and would be the same either way, and you have an extra down to play with, then spike the ball and don't try calling a play with everyone not set for no reason. And don't waste time for no reason when you need to go down the field quickly and efficiently. If you only run one play in the final 36 seconds of a game down by 3 points, you did something horribly wrong. And safe to say, Notre Dame and head coach Marcus Freeman did something horribly wrong here. Because when all of these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Check out our live streaming schedule for the next few days. We're live every single day on this channel, whether we're covering a sporting event or playing GeoGuessr or just taking your requests. So make sure you like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single time that we go live and so that you can join this community. Also, thanks to all our members and our Patreon supporters who get exclusive perks like their name of the end of each video, members-only Q&A streams, and cool emojis to use on videos and during streams. See how you can join this community and become a member or a Patreon member by clicking the link in the description below.